Watch out, they'll surprise you. Quakers, they may not say much, but they're thinking hard. And a whole lot of Pentecostals, believe it or not, yes, Pentecostals, all those people speaking in tongues, really do think that they're the ones who are communing with God and that they are making up their own minds. And of course, you already heard about the Unitarians and the Universalists. There's a liberal streak hiding anywhere if you look for it. Of course, they're very different from one another and quarrel with each other all the time, which just shows you that once this liberal germ gets out, it just won't be contained. Because liberal religion does not conform. It cannot be uniform. It inevitably becomes wild and woolly. It becomes like the peony, like I said earlier, peculiar, eccentric, ornery, nasty. Yeah, we're all yahoos, there's no question. It would be nice, I suppose, to have things organized better. Lord knows I'd be a better minister if I could remember where I put everything. Liberal religion, though, is a lot like real life. It's a mess. And most people want the religion to clean up their lives, to make sense of life. So no wonder so many people out there think, well, you're not a real church, because we don't do what, quote, real churches do. That is, we don't tidy up reality. We don't transplant the weeds into the compost and make sure only the tulips are left in the garden. That also means we're never going to be a popular choice. Most people like things that are fairly predictable. You ever go to McDonald's? It isn't because you love the food. It's because you know exactly what you're going to get. Regrettably, but reliably, the same. Most people like that, which is why Ray Kroc's widow can endow the Salvation Army, and the owners of Gaia Vegetarian Restaurant can barely pay the bills. Most people like reliability. They like consistency. They like simplicity. They like safety. And we don't do that here. It's hard to trust in uncertainty. It's hard to have faith in the unknown. We're a free-range, organic, grass-fed religion. It won't even be number 2 or 3 on the hit list ever. But you can be sure that in every bigger religion, in every bigger church, every bigger mosque or temple, there are a few people sitting in the pews right now thinking thoughts just like ours. Oh, they won't leave. Their parents went there, their children go there, their spouses go there, their friends go there, and they're too nice. And I do mean that in the best sense. They're too nice to ruin a relationship, but they're sitting there thinking for themselves, all by themselves. They may not even know each other exists. They may not know the person 5 pews away is having the same thoughts they are, but they all know one thing they do know, that there are a whole bunch of people like them down at Fountain Street. And that gives them hope. Not to leave their church, but to stay in their church or their temple or their mosque, to sow little dandelions of doubt at coffee hour, to plant the pokeweed of possibility in the Bible study, to nourish the crabgrass of conscience in the committee meeting. They introduce a little chaos into the gardens of purity and uniformity. And we here, few as we are in the world, made up of spiritual exiles and expats, we give courage to those who cannot leave the tidier gardens to go wandering in the fields. We change the world just by being here. Yeah, I sure wish there were more of us here. And Lord knows if I preached better sermons and if we had more exotic stuff, maybe we could bring in big crowds. But that's not the point. Because our mission is not to fill the pews. It's to embolden the few who can't be here. To send messages of hope to those who are toiling out there, pulling up the flowers and planting the weeds and can't tell anyone. Our mission is to sow the unruly word of truth, the unreliable inconsistency of love, the immense possibilities of change, the very thing Jesus meant when the sower went out to sow some seed, and some fell among thorns and others among rocks. Some of it's going to grow. It's what Johnny Appleseed did so that now people are plucking apples in Ohio because a man from Fitchburg, Massachusetts dropped a few seeds in the ground 200 and some years ago. We're the Johnny Appleseed Church. We're supposed to mess things up for everybody else. That's our job. to feed them by the wayside. You might say we're here to replant Eden. Seed by seed along the byways and the back lots, poking up between the slabs of concrete, we insinuate the meadows of freedom and hope and love into the tidy gardens of security and conformity. So the question I'm asking you right now is, what seed will you plant next year and next church season? One has come and gone. We've acknowledged and applauded those who have served, and another is going to be planted soon enough. What seeds of disharmony and disunity and confusion will you plant in the world? Will you join a committee here so you can get organized and make a mess someplace else? Will you take a class and mess with your own head? Will you teach a class and mess with somebody else's head? Will you bake cookies? Will you bake them in vegan ways? Will you feed the hungry and not care if they get religion? Will you sing in public and not care who's listening? Will you clothe the naked? Will you teach the young? Will you share your sorrows, knit a shawl, paint a wall, write a check, wash a dish, clean a room, write a story, paint a picture? Sow your seeds, friends. Tulips are lovely, I know, and I do love them, but so are the peonies, pansies, irises, daylilies, daffodils, asters, daisies, astilbes, snapdragons, bluebonnets, sagebrush, milkweed, crabgrass, sunflowers, ivy, and yes, the dandelions, especially the dandelions, because they grow so fast. No, this is no tidy garden here, I grant. It will never be as impressive as the gardens of Versailles, but it makes an awfully nice meadow, doesn't it? I think so. May these words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be found true in thy sight, O thou who art my rock and my redeemer. Amen.